Hello everyone, this is Rita Holmes, independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and I'm here to bring you another video. I know that it has been not a long time since I did one because I'm trying to play catch up. I know that look at this. Sorry about that, my iPad was turned up and I thought it was turned down. Don't know what that was about. But anyway, we're doing pretty good here. So anyway, we won't start over, but I will tell you that this is the card I'm going to bring to you tonight. It's called Lightning Strikes, and I'm going to show you the technique to do that. But before I do that, I do want to share that all of the videos I do make a PDF of my cards, and I put them on my Facebook group in the files at Stamp Crazy VIP that you can go pull any of them off and print them and have them for your references if you need them, because I have all the stuff that I used with the measurements and how I made the card. So that is in the file section of my Facebook group, Stamp Crazy VIP. I also have my host code down here for January. If you would like to place an order with me, I would love it. I just don't want to step on any other demonstrators' toes, but if you see something that you like and you'd like to order, you can always go to my online store at ritaholmes.stampinup.net and order, and please use the host code if you do that. I am trying to make a personal goal this month, and so running out of a little bit of time, but that's okay. I think we'll make it, so I'm not doubting that right now. So anyway, here's my card. Again, I said it's called Lightning Strikes. As you can see, the lightning in it. And I saw this on another channel. France Martin did it. You might know her as Frenchie. She did this technique. She did it a little bit different. I did mine on DSP. She did it on regular cardstock. She went about it just a little bit of a different way than what I did, and that's okay because we all do our own personal preferences. So I am going to show you what mine is tonight, okay? So here's what we're going to use. Let me tell you that. We are going to be using the printed papers from the New Horizons paper, which all of this paper actually has scenery on it. You can actually use this for so much with the different sceneries and stuff. It's a really, really neat paper. It's in our new mini catalog, which is ready that you can purchase out of it now until June. We also have our Celebrations catalog, which goes till the end of February, and that's for every $50 you spend, either in the mini catalog or the annual catalog. You can pick out stamp sets from here. We do have two that you have to spend $100 on, but they're well worth it. One of them is the Friendly Hello stamp set. You get the stamp set plus a 12 by 12 pack of paper. You have to spend $100 to get that one. And the other one is the sayings, I forget what it's called. It's called Special Moments. There's 21 stamps in there of all different kinds of sayings that you can use on your cards. So that's really a good deal because this covers really a lot of different occasions and just different ways that you would want to send a card. So with that being said, let me show you the New Horizons paper if I can find it real quick. I forget what page it's on. Maybe if I look back here, I'll be able to find it easier. Okay. As I flip quickly, it's right here. You can actually get this in a bundle for $78.25. You can get it on the Horizon stamp set. You can get the dies. You get the ribbon. You get these little pebbles that look just like pebbles, and then the 6x6 piece series of paper. There's 48 sheets in that with 4 of each design. and it is double-sided. So you can get all of this as a bundle, or you can buy it all separately. And I am using the paper tonight, which is $11.50 for the 48 sheets of paper. Okay, so I am going to move that out of the way, and now we're going to get started. So what I used was, I used an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of basic gray cardstock, and I'm going to fold that in half. And then I'm also going to be using a piece of black 5.25 by 4 that will be put on here later. And this is, I hope it fits on there right. I might have to cut this down just a hair. I will. I must have cut it 5.25 by 4, which it should be 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So let me do that just real quick, because right here is the paper trimmer. Make sure I am right on this. I was a hair off on those. Daggone. That's okay. We have it right now. So this was actually going to go on the inside of my card. So it's going to go right here. And we're going to stamp on that, so I can't put that in yet. And this is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. That will fit right here. I did the wrong thing. This was 5.25 by 4, which would have been fine for the inside, but I was thinking I was putting it on the front. Not paying attention to what I'm doing. So it'll go like this, but we are going to make this look like it's a stormy day, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our scrap piece of paper. Let's move all of this stuff out of the way. And we are going to lay our paper right here. We're going to bring in a blending brush, and we're going to bring in our, well, before I do that, I think this time, I didn't do it before, I did it the other way. I'm going to bring in my smoky slate, and I'm going to bring in my cloud that comes from the After the Storm set, because we're going to be using After the Storm, and we're going to be using Grassy Grove. We're going to be using this and this out of Grassy Grove, and we're going to be using this saying, this, the rain, the small cloud, and this saying out of After the Storm. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink these up, and I'm going to stamp me some clouds on here. And you'll see that they're real light, and that's okay because they will be covered up some, but it gives me a guideline for when I want to make my lightning strikes, okay? We'll be using that stamp again, but with the basic gray pretty soon, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to open basic gray. We're going to just use our blending brush. I'm going to get some ink on it, and I'm going to start off of the paper, and I'm going to darken this. And you can darken it. You know, if you want it really dark, really stormy, you can do that. If you want it just to be a light storm, you can do that too. Now, as you notice, I'm not doing my grass area right now because I don't want that to be as dark as my sky area. I can still see my clouds. I don't know if you can still see them on there, but those are going to be my guidelines for my so there's my stormy sky. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to ink this up, but I'm just going to brush this back and forth just to kind of darken these lighter areas, just so it blends with the paper better. It's a nice way to clean your brush too. And there we go. That is our, we're going to leave that out for a minute. And then what I'm going to do, well, I think I'll put it away for a minute because I'm going to bring the Stamparatus in. What we're going to do with the Stamparatus is we're going to bring this in. And I'm going to take this piece of paper here. And I'm going to line this up. I want it to stay kind of, there we go. I'm going to bring this down and I'm going to put this one, these are so, well, that worked, didn't it? There we go. Actually, I'm going to move that this way so I don't have all that in my way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down, and I want it right here at the top of that and I think I'm going to bring it, here's our sample. I'm going to bring this over a little bit because I'm going to put the trees right there. So I'm just going to bring this over like here. Bring this down, close it, and I'll just pick this up. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to put a stamp case behind it, and I'm pulling it down so you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little bit. I lay that on the stamp case, and I take my tuxedo black. You could do it with StazOn, but I'm not a StazOn type of person because I think it's messy. And I don't like messes, so I just kind of rub this on, and then I'm going to pounce it. And I want this to be good and dark, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp it a couple times. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to take my tool, and I'm going to just rub that really good. And I want that darker, so we're going to ink it again. Because I want that to be a really dark, like, silhouette. And I'm going to do it one more time. It's pretty dark, but I just want to make sure. So I'm going to bring that. Okay, I like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. I'm just going to ink some of that, get some of that off of there. Because I'm using the same stamp, it's going to go right here. So I can go ahead and press that down. And I'm going to ink up a little bit of that down there at the bottom. That's why I have my scrap paper in under here, so I can not get my Stamparatus so messy. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Okay, I'm going to remove that for a minute. I don't need it. I'm going to take my trees and I'm going to put my trees right here because I want my trees to be dark also. I'm going to move this over a little bit more to hold that paper down. I keep laying that down, and I know it rolls, so you'd think I would keep it where it needs to be. There we go. So now we have a scenery at the bottom of our card, okay? I'm going to be using those trees again, so I'm just going to set them off. I'll set this off to the side. We're done with that. We're not necessarily done with this. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to use my I'm actually going to use my, I can't get a hold of it. It's a quickie glue pen. I don't know if you guys have one of these. Stampin' Up does not sell them. They work great for this technique because our other glue, our thin line glue, that's with the fine line glue tip, it's too runny. It doesn't work well with this because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my lightning bolts. And then I'll use my heat gun and white embossing powder for that because I wanted to do that before I did all of my going over my basic gray, going over my whole piece. Now you probably won't be able to see this with it being the glue, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make squiggly lines, and it's like lightning. So I can make that just all, and I shouldn't have put that one there because that was my saying, but I'll put my saying over towards the middle. That'll be fine. I think I'll put a little one over here, but you can add these as much as you want. And maybe a little one up here. It's really storming on this side of the park, right? There we go. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me hold it up. But can you see those shiny lines? That's my glue. And this glue, if it's starting to dry, it'll be tacky and it will hold your embossing powder. That's what I want to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some embossing powder, and I'm just using white. Nothing fancy, and I'm going to pour that on these lightning strikes. And then I'm going to take them, and I don't know if you do this, but pour them in a coffee filter. And if you had an embossing buddy, you could use that, because then you wouldn't have all this little stuff I have in here that I need to blow off, because it's going to make little white dots. So I'm trying to get all that off as I can. Okay, so what I'm going to do with my embossing powder is I'm just going to take and pour that right back into my container. And that way you get to save a lot of your embossing folder, and you can use your coffee filters over and over and over again. Okay, we're going to take the heat gun, and mine might sound funny because it's been doing weird things. but you want to let it get hot for a second. And then we're going to heat up our lightning. And you'll see it start to turn. And I think I got it all. Okay, there we go. That's good. So there's our lightning on there. Isn't that pretty? Let me get all the extra stuff off of here. I'm going to lay this back on here. I'm going to bring it back in my basic gray. And I'm going to stamp me some darker clouds now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it. Oops. And I'm going to stamp off. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm just going to add my clouds. Okay, there's my clouds. And then the next thing I am going to do is I'm going to bring in my raindrops. And I want my raindrops to be really, this is going to be like rain coming down. And what I want with my rain, I'm going to use Smoky Slate because I want them to barely be seen, okay? So I'm just going to ink this up. Sorry, my arm's in the way. And I'm just going to and it just gives shadows of rain. So can you see the rain kind of pelting down there? So that is our rain. Now what I'm going to do is clean this cloud stamp. And this here is a tricky part to do. I still don't know that I like it, but I still do it. And that's, we're going to lighten some clouds up. And I just cleaned my embossing buddy, so I got to dry my stamp. Because I left it kind of juicy because it dries out so fast. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Whisper White, my white craft pad, and I'm going to ink this up, but I don't want it so juicy that, because I want it to just lighten where I stamped those other clouds. It'll just give a hint of white in there. Whoops, let's push this down. When it dries, it looks a little better. So there we go. That's all we need with that. And I want to get the white off of that stamp because I don't like to leave that pigment type ink on there. So I'm going to get that off. It doesn't want to come off. So I have to make it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use my coffee filter here. Where I have this kind of dark right here, I'm just going to blop that dry. And now I'm going to put my saying on there, and I think I want my saying dark. This one is kind of light, if you look at it, and I want it darker than that. So I'm going to use my Stamparatus again. I'll actually use it this way so you can see it better. And I will get my stamp out. Let's not get these magnets too close together. They like to fight. And I don't want them fighting, because it drives me crazy. I can actually take this out. I don't even need it, because I like to make sure I get my paper lined up straight. So we'll put this magnet here, and this magnet maybe there. And I'm going to take my saying, and it says, "Even the darkest night will pass and the sun will rise." So I think I'm going to stick that right here in the center, kind of centered between my raindrops, or my lightning. I want it down here. This might be different. So let's see, let's ink that up with the black. And this way I can stamp it a couple times. And when you're working with black and you want your images really dark, the best thing to do is use a Stamparatus, because your paper will stay in place, and then you can stamp a couple times. And I have to tell you, this tool that I'm using, I had a friend send it to me at Christmas time. She's actually a stamper friend that watches my videos. Her name is Joan, and her husband made these for us, and they are just wonderful because it's got the felt on the end, and you just can rub, and you don't have to press down with your fingers so much. Okay, one more time, I think. Okay, there is the front of our card. I can get the magnet out of the way. Let's take this and stick it over here out of the way. Let's put that back out of the way. Okay, I'm going to put the front, my card front together, and then I'm going to do my inside. So what I have here is my card front, which I am going to just glue on here, okay? Let's just glue this down. And it's only like 1/8 of an inch around that I'm leaving. I didn't want a lot to show. I just wanted just a little border, just to show it. And there that is. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to kind of score that again so it'll stay down. I'm going to use black dimensionals, and yep, here they are. Because I want to pop that up for some dimension, since there's not any real dimension on the card itself. And I like dimension. I think it really offsets a lot when you're putting it on your card. And I want this to be held up, so I'm putting several of these on there. There we go. You could do this lightning with all different kinds of stamps. You know, any of your, like if you're using Stampin' Up, the mountain sceneries, you know, even the beach sceneries. You know, have you ever been at the beach and watched a storm come through? I like storms, so it's pretty awesome to me. But you could do all kinds of stuff with that. So now I'm just going to add this to the front of my card. And there's our front done. That is our front. Now I'm going to take for the inside, I'm going to bring this back in. I am going to use, first off, I'm going to put some, let me show you the inside of the one I did. It's right here. I'm going to put some sun rays in here. So I'm just going to ink up. I don't have to ink up this whole stamp. I'm just going to ink up what I think I'll use. And I'm just going to put a sun rays right there. And that's all we need of that. I'm going to use the black trees that we already used on the front. I put them on a block, and now I will add them right down here to the bottom of the card. And I think hope I need that open just one more time, because I am going to take and use this saying right here. Let's change blocks out real quick. And this says, a little sunshine for your day. So let's ink that up in the black. And we're going to put that right here. So that is the inside of our card. Just keep moving things out of our way. This is a really different technique. I think it's really cool. Let's get to the right card. We're going to put this in. And let's just stick it right here. And there we go. So that is our card we made. That was my other card. And then here's this one. And they all look good. So I'm pleased with it. And it makes a very good masculine card. Here, let me scoot those down. I'm not quite in the camera. So, you know, I added a lot more lightning over here. I have a darker sky over here though, but I can see more of my stamping here. And, you know, it's whatever you like. And no two cards with this is going to look alike. So, you know, that's what's fun about it. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to come back soon with another video. You guys have a great day. Bye.